The West Philippine Sea is once again a theater of tension, a place where the world's eyes are fixed and nerves are stretched thin. This vast expanse of blue water dotted with islands and reefs has become a symbol of both hope and conflict for the nations that border it. Sandy Cay, a tiny sandbar barely visible on most maps, has become the latest flashpoint between the Philippines and China. What was once a quiet, unremarkable patch of sand is now at the center of a geopolitical storm. On September 15, 2025, the situation is tense and unpredictable. The air is thick with uncertainty, and every move is watched by both local and international observers. The Philippine Coast Guard reports a standoff. Chinese vessels, including maritime militia and Coast Guard ships, are swarming the area. The presence of so many ships in such close quarters raises the risk of miscalculation or even open confrontation. These ships aren't just passing through, they're forming a blockade, challenging Philippine sovereignty and sending a clear message that China intends to assert its claims by force if necessary. Filipino fishermen, who have relied on these waters for generations, are being blocked from their traditional fishing grounds. Their livelihoods are at stake, and their frustration is growing, sparking outrage in Manila and across the country. The Marcos administration faces a direct test of its resolve. Every decision made now will have lasting consequences for the nation's security and its standing in the world. The world is watching as a small nation stands up to a global superpower. News outlets from around the globe are reporting on the standoff, and international leaders are weighing in, urging restraint but also expressing concern. For the Philippines, this is about more than just territory. It's about resources, fishing, oil and gas, and above all, about national identity and pride. The struggle for Sandy Cay is a struggle for the country's future. Sandy Cay, though small and seemingly insignificant, now symbolizes both defiance and vulnerability. It stands as a testament to the Philippines' determination to defend what it believes is rightfully its own. China claims nearly the entire South China Sea, but international law, specifically the 2016 Arbitral Award, sides with the Philippines. This legal victory is a cornerstone of Manila's position, even as China refuses to recognize the ruling. The sandbars are not disputed in Manila's eyes. They are Philippine territory, recognized by international law and defended by the nation's leaders. The current standoff is seen as an illegal occupation by China, a violation of both Philippine sovereignty and international norms. Government officials are holding emergency meetings, and the public is anxiously following every update. Social media buzzes with concern, and families gather around televisions, hoping for a peaceful resolution. The stakes are enormous: sovereignty, security, and the rule of law in the region. The outcome of this standoff could set a precedent for future disputes in the South China Sea. This is a David versus Goliath struggle, unfolding in real time. The Philippines, though outmatched in size and power, is determined to stand its ground. The outcome will shape the future of the West Philippine Sea, influencing not just the fate of Sandy Cay, but the balance of power and peace in the entire region for years to come. To truly grasp the crisis unfolding in the South China Sea, we must first understand the significance of Sandy Cay. Sandy Cay isn't just a single island. It's a small cluster of sandbars, scattered just a few nautical miles from Pag-asa Island, which serves as the Philippines' main outpost in the Spratly Islands. These sandbars, though seemingly insignificant, are at the heart of a growing regional dispute. From the shores of Pag-asa, the sandbars are clearly visible, forming part of the daily landscape for the island's residents. For decades, they have been woven into the local ecosystem and economy, providing shelter for marine life and a vital fishing ground for the community. Generations of Filipino fishermen have depended on these waters for their livelihoods, passing down knowledge and traditions tied to the sea. The sandbars are more than just land, they are a lifeline for families and a symbol of heritage. Sandy Cay's close proximity to Pag-asa makes it strategically vital. Whoever controls these sandbars could potentially isolate the Filipino community on Pag-asa, cutting off their access to resources and support. That's why China's recent and growing interest in these sandbars is so alarming to the Philippines and its allies. If China were to gain control of Sandy Cay, it could restrict access to Pag-asa, effectively choking off the island. There's also the looming threat of land reclamation, something China has already done elsewhere in the region, transforming reefs and sandbars into military outposts. According to international law, Sandy Cay is entitled to its own territorial sea and lies well within the Philippines' Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ. This means the Philippines has the legal right to exploit resources and exercise authority here. The sandbars also fall within the territorial sea of Pag-asa itself, making any foreign claim or incursion a direct challenge to Philippine sovereignty and a violation of established maritime boundaries. The Philippine government is determined to prevent a Chinese takeover, stepping up patrols and diplomatic efforts to assert its rights. This dispute is about far more than just sand or territory. It's about upholding the legal order that governs the world's oceans, and ensuring that international law is respected by all nations. The outcome of the struggle over these sandbars could set a powerful precedent for maritime disputes everywhere, influencing how similar conflicts are resolved in the future. For the Philippines, Sandy Cay is more than a line on a map. It's a line in the sand, a test of national resolve and unity. Losing Sandy Cay would mean losing more than just territory. It would mean losing credibility on the world stage, weakening the country's position in future disputes, and eroding the trust of its people in their leaders' ability to defend their sovereignty. China's approach at Sandy Cay is a textbook example of gray zone warfare. Actions that fall below the threshold of open conflict, but are aggressive and coercive all the same. Instead of launching a traditional military assault, China employs subtler, more ambiguous tactics to assert its claims and expand its influence in the region. Rather than sending in warships, China deploys a mix of Coast Guard and maritime militia vessels. These so-called fishing boats may look harmless, but they are often equipped and organized for military purposes, operating under government direction to further China's strategic goals. These vessels swarm disputed waters, forming an intimidating blockade without ever firing a shot. Their sheer numbers and coordinated maneuvers make it nearly impossible for others to access these areas freely. Filipino fishermen who have relied on these waters for generations now face daily intimidation, dangerous close passes, water cannon attacks, and relentless harassment that puts their livelihoods and safety at risk. The psychological toll is immense. Imagine small wooden boats forced to confront massive steel-hulled ships, a David versus Goliath scenario that leaves Filipino fishermen feeling vulnerable and outmatched. Beyond direct harassment, Chinese vessels have been linked to widespread environmental destruction, giant clam harvesting and coral reef damage that devastate marine ecosystems and threaten the future of local fisheries. This ecocide is not accidental. It paves the way for massive land reclamation projects where sand and rock are piled onto reefs to create artificial islands, many of which are quickly transformed into military outposts, complete with runways and radar installations. China's tactics are carefully calculated to exhaust, intimidate, and wear down its rivals, all while avoiding actions that might trigger a direct military response or open conflict. The ultimate goal is to normalize their presence, to create new facts on the water, and to make their control over these disputed areas seem inevitable and permanent. The Philippines is under constant pressure, forced to respond to these provocations while trying to avoid escalation into full-scale war, a delicate balancing act that tests the nation's resolve and resources. This is a slow, grinding form of conquest, victory by attrition, not by bullets. Every day, the balance shifts a little more in China's favor. The world is watching as this slow-motion invasion unfolds, raising urgent questions about international law, regional security, and the future of the South China Sea. The Philippines is not backing down. Manila has launched diplomatic protests and increased its presence at sea. The Coast Guard documents and publicizes Chinese actions, exposing them to the world. Assertive transparency is the strategy, showing evidence, rallying support. The military is boosting patrols and upgrading Pag-asa's facilities to strengthen its hold. Fishermen are being supported with better boats and equipment. The government is helping communities adapt, ensuring livelihoods endure. The message is clear: the Philippines will resist, document, and defend. Philippine leaders are united. President Marcos Jr. has declared, "We will not yield a single inch of our territory." Defense Secretary Teodoro pushes for a stronger military and deeper alliances, especially with the U.S. experts like J. Barong Bacal emphasize the 2016 arbitral award as the legal backbone of the Philippine position. Assertive transparency is praised for leveraging the country's legal and moral high ground. Even opposition leaders like Senator Hontiveros call for unity against Chinese aggression. Political differences are set aside in defense of sovereignty. This rare unity sends a strong message to Beijing. The Filipino people are resolute. Sovereignty is non-negotiable. The nation stands together, determined to defend its rights. The Philippines knows it can't face China alone. The U.S. alliance is central, with the Mutual Defense Treaty reaffirmed to cover attacks in the South China Sea. Japan and Australia have become key partners, providing patrol vessels and conducting joint exercises. These alliances boost the Philippines' capacity and signal to China that it's not isolated. Within ASEAN, Manila pushes for a unified stance and a binding code of conduct, despite resistance from some members. The Philippines also raises the issue in global forums like the UN and G7, keeping international attention focused. Support from countries like Canada, the UK, France, and Germany adds diplomatic pressure on Beijing. The goal: isolate China diplomatically and show that violating international law has consequences. Coalition building is Manila's shield in this struggle. The world's eyes are on the West Philippine Sea. The future at Sandy Cay could unfold in several ways. A prolonged stalemate may see both sides locked in a tense, non-violent standoff. Escalation is possible. An accident or provocation could trigger a crisis, even drawing in the U.S. If China starts building on Sandy Cay, Manila may be forced to respond more forcefully. Alternatively, sustained international pressure could lead to de-escalation and talks. The Philippines is preparing for a long struggle, focusing on credible deterrence. This means investing in modern defense and alliances, not matching China ship for ship. The aim: make any aggression too costly for Beijing. The stakes are high, not just for the Philippines, but for regional peace. The world is watching how this story unfolds. Beyond geopolitics, this conflict is deeply personal for many Filipinos. Fishermen from Palawan and Zambales have relied on these waters for generations. Now, Chinese aggression threatens their livelihoods and way of life. Incomes have plummeted, families are pushed into poverty, every fishing trip is a risk. Harassment, damaged boats, and constant fear. The crisis ripples through entire communities, eroding local economies and traditions. Many young people are forced to leave, threatening a rich maritime heritage. Yet Filipino fishermen show remarkable courage, documenting harassment and asserting their rights. Their stories put a human face on the conflict. They are not just victims, they are frontline defenders of sovereignty. Their resilience inspires a nation. The Philippines has shown remarkable resilience in the face of adversity. The Sandy Cay standoff is a testament to the Filipino spirit, standing up for rights with law, courage, and unity. The fight is for sovereignty and a world where rules matter. By strengthening alliances and investing in defense, the nation is better prepared than ever. International support is growing, and the Philippines is no longer alone. The hope is for a peaceful resolution and a region governed by law, not force. The courage of Filipino fishermen and the unity of the people are beacons of hope. The story of Sandy Cay is ultimately a story of hope, resilience, and the enduring Filipino spirit.